Hello guys, welcome to Minna No Nihongo lesson 48. In this video, we'll be covering the grammar, vocabulary, English translation for Reibun and Bunke of lesson 48 from the book Minna No Nihongo book 2. We will also be bringing you this bonus clip about discipline. In this lesson, we will be introduced to a new verb form called the shi eki ke. This is a causative verb that can be used when installing discipline to your children or students. If you recall, by now we had learned 6 different verb forms before arriving at lesson 48. They include the kano ke form, jioken ke form, iko ke, ukemi ke, meirei ke, and kinshi ke. Later in lesson 49 and 50, we'll be learning 2 more verb forms. They are the son kei go and kenjo go. So without further ado, let's get started. The grammar for this lesson begins with understanding shi eki ke, followed by how to convert a plain verb form into causative verb form. There are 2 types of causative sentence, one that uses o and the other one using ni as the particle after the noun. We'll learn them in detail how it works, okay? Next, we'll learn what happened when we combine causative form and te form with itadakimasen ka. We use this format when we are asking for permission politely. So these are all together 5 grammar structures that we will be learning in this slide. Continue on, we will do an English translation for page 188 and 189. That's where the Reibun and Kaiwa is. Sometimes when we translate a sentence wrongly, it will be wrong forever. Your understanding will be wrong forever. So be sure to get the correct English translation for every sentence that you learn. Vocabulary, we will learn 32 new words for this lesson, and we will share a bonus clip about how to use shi eki verb when installing discipline to our students or children. Okay. Well, causative verb form shi eki ke can only be used in 2 situations. First situation is when there is a compulsion, and the second situation is when there is a permission. Compulsion is when a senior person instructs a junior person to do something. Permission is when a senior person allows a junior person to do something, to do a certain task. So these are the only 2 situations when you can use shi eki ke. Then there's somebody asking whether a junior person instruct a senior person to do something using causative verb form, or can a junior person allow or give permission to a senior person using causative verb form? Well, the answer is no. But there are some exceptions, okay? There are some verbs that denote emotions. Then you are allowed to use that. Even though you are a junior person, you can give permission to a senior person if the verb is a verb that denoting emotions. Verb that denote emotions such as ansin suru. Ansin suru is relief. Okay. Shinpai suru. Shinpai suru is worry. Gakkari suru is disappointed. Yorokobu is glad. Kanashi is sad. Okoru is angry. Okay, these are some examples of verbs that denote emotions. Okay, let's look at one example. When I was a child, my poor health worried my mother. Okay, kodomo no toki karada ga yowakute haha o shinpai sasemashita. Okay, over here, my mom is more senior than me, and my mom is worried about me. We can use this causative verb form. Okay, so this is one example where a junior person allow a senior person to do something, and we can still use the causative verb form because the verb here is a verb that denote emotion, which is shinpai suru. Alright, so how do we make causative verb? Let's look at group 1, group 2, and group 3 verbs. Okay, the group 1 verbs ikimasu, when we change it to causative verb form, the polite form is ikasemasu. Ikimasu become ikasemasu. The plain form is simply ikaseru. Okay, tabemasu, group 2, become tabesasemasu. The plain form is tabesaseru. Kimasu, group 3, it becomes kosasemasu. The plain form is kosaseru. Shimasu, the polite form is sasemasu, and the plain form is saseru. For negative form, nai, and te form, all the causative verb group 1, group 2, and group 3 will follow group 2 verbs. So if you look at group 1 here, ikaseru, the nai form, you simply remove the ru and you simply add a nai, ikasenai. The te form, you simply add a te, remove the ru, ikaseru, ikasete. Same goes for all the other verbs. So tabesaseru become tabesasenai, tabesasete. Kosaseru become kosasenai, kosasete. Saseru becomes sasenai, sasete. So it's quite simple, right? So this is the way to convert a verb, a normal verb, into a causative verb form, shieki form. Okay. Well, as previously mentioned, causative verb shieki k can only be used in two situations: when there is a compulsion and when there is a permission. Compulsion is when somebody gives instruction to another person to do something. Well, permission is when somebody allows another person to do something. Okay, there are two types of sentence structures that could explain a compulsion or a permission using the causative shieki k verb form. Okay, the first type is where the person receiving the instruction or the permission here has a particle attached to it, and the particle is o. Okay, this is the first type. The second type is where the person receiving the instruction or the permission, the particle attached to him is a ni. Right? To decide whether the particle is o or ni, we have to look at the verb. The causative verb. Is the causative verb an intransitive verb or a transitive verb? If it is an intransitive verb, then the particle attached to the person receiving this instruction is o. Okay, well, if the verb is transitive verb, then the person receiving this instruction, the particle attached to it is ni. Okay, if you look at a real example, it may become quite tricky, where you have additional informations here between the person receiving and the action here. Okay, one thing you have to remember is that this verb here, causative verb, this is carried out by the person receiving the instruction or the permission. Okay, he's the one who's carrying out this activity here, this verb here. Same for this, this is the person who's doing this activity here. Okay, it's just that there's for the second type, there's an additional noun here where you have to insert a particle o. Okay, we look at some examples in the following slide. Okay, we look at the first type of sentence. Example 1, the department manager makes Mr. Kato go to Osaka on business. 部長は加藤さんを Osaka へ出張させます. Okay, first step, we look at the verb 出張させます. 出張します is a intransitive verb, so the particle, so this is the first type, and the particle attached to the person receiving this instruction is o. Okay, well, always remember in all sentences, the person on the most left or beginning of the sentence is always the person who is giving the instruction or giving the permission. So in this case, Bucho is the one who is giving the instruction and giving the permission. So he's giving the instruction to Kato-san. Kato-san is the one who is receiving this instruction to go out of town to Osaka. So the particle attached here, O, is attached to Kato-san. Okay. Example number 2. 私は娘を自由に遊ばせました. I let my daughter play freely. Once again, watashi is the person who is giving the permission. Musume is the person receiving this permission. Asobasemasu, this is from asobimasu. Asobimasu is an intransitive verb. So the particle attached to musume is o. Jiyu ni, this is an adverb which explains the verb, so the particle is ni. Example 3. 私は子供を歩かせます. I make my child walk. This is an instruction. It could also be a permission. So, kodomo is the one who is receiving this permission. So, the particle attached to the kodomo is o. Since this is an intransitive verb, arukimasu. Example number 4. 私は子供に道の右側を歩かせます. Okay, I make my child walk on the right side of the road. Okay, notice here the verb here is also arukimasu, so this is an intransitive verb. So automatically the particle attached to kodomo should be o. However, in this case, it is not o but ni. The reason why, this is an exception, okay? Please remember, because over here, this is not a this is a noun, and it is walking on the road, on this area. So the particle here becomes o. When the particle here becomes o, then the particle attached to the person receiving this instruction is ni, changes to ni. Okay, so always remember, if this is a location and you're walking on that location, so particle here is o. Okay, if you look at example 1, this is Osaka. Osaka is also a place, okay, but it is not it's a destination because it's going there. So the particle here is not o but a. However, for example 4, the particle here becomes o because here this is a location. Location is where he's standing on that location. He's walking on that location. Well, example number 1 is where it's a destination, so it's going there. So the particle is not o. Okay, so I hope you can tell the difference between example 1 and example 4. And example 4, the structures changes to second type instead of first type, even though the verb is an intransitive verb. Okay, the second type is the particle attached to the person receiving this is ni. Okay, let's look at the second type in the next slide. Okay, this is the second type where the particle attached to the person receiving the instruction or permission is ni, and the verb is a transitive verb. Okay, example 5. I'm busy this morning. I'm busy in the morning, so I make my daughter help prepare breakfast. 朝は忙しいですから、娘に朝ごはんの準備を手伝わせます. Okay, 手伝わせます. This is 手伝います, which is a transitive verb. So the particle attached to the person receiving this instruction or permission is ni. Okay, so we figured this out, ni. And then over here we have a noun. 朝ごはんの準備. This is a noun, so the particle here is o. Example 6. 先生は生徒に自由に意見を言わせました. The teacher let her students freely voice their opinion. Once again, the verb here, this is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to the person receiving the instruction or permission is ni. Okay, and then we have a noun here, so the particle here is o, so iken o, and we have an adverb here which explains the verb, so the particle here is ni. So we can actually have two ni in one sentence. Okay. Well, here are two sentences that could easily occur in exam questions, where you have to fill in the right particle in the blank. Okay, the first sentence, I let my son buy his favorite book. Watashi wa musuko hoshii mono kawasemasu. I let my daughter go to her favorite university. Watashi wa musume ikitai dagaku ikasemashita. Okay, the first sentence and second sentence, do you find anything similar? Okay, both sentences involve permission. Okay, and watashi is the one who's giving the permission. Anything in common? Anything else? Okay, both of them involve favorite things, letting the son to buy his favorite book. So the son is the one who buy the book. Okay, and the second one is similarity, is that this one is that the daughter gets to go to her favorite university. Okay, favorite and favorite. Okay, that's the only similarity. The differences are, the first sentence, kawasemasu, which is kaimasu, this is buying, this is a intransitive verb. This is a transitive verb. Okay, well, ikimasu, this is a intransitive verb. So the particle attached to the person receiving this instruction is o. Okay, but before we put an o here, please remember we learned in the previous slide that if this is a location and if this particle becomes o, then this is ni. However, over here, ikitai daigaku ikasemashita, ikimasu, there's a direction here, so the particle here is not o but ni. Since this is a ni, so we can safely use o here attached to the noun receiving this permission. Okay, for the first sentence, this is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to the person receiving this instruction is ni, as we learned in the previous slide, right? And then we have this hoshimono, this is a noun, so the particle here is o. Okay, do you notice that ni here and o here, even though both of this is a noun? Okay, however, this is not o because there's a direction, so it becomes ni. Okay, however, if this is a location but there's no direction and it's walking on it, then this is actually o and this is ni. Okay, even though this is intransitive verb. Okay, however, in this case, this is a noun but there's a direction, so it becomes ni, and we can safely use o because this is an intransitive verb. Okay, just remember these two sentences by heart. I think it's quite easy to remember because both of them have some similarity. I let my son buy his favorite book. I let my daughter go to her favorite university. Just remember these two sentences by heart, and I'm pretty sure you can answer most of the questions related to causative verb form. Okay, so once again, this is the first sentence, this is the second type. Okay, while the second sentence, this is the first type. Well, by now, I'm sure you realize that to make a causative verb sentence, we need to know which verb is intransitive and which verb is transitive. Okay, there's a secret formula where you can recognize the intransitive verb. Okay, by understanding that intransitive verb have two characteristics. The first characteristic is that intransitive verb did not change in itself. Okay, an intransitive verb, for example, increase, fueru. Fueru in itself, it already explains a change in itself. Okay, fueru, in other words, is oku naru. Okay, increase, the other word for increase is actually becoming a lot. Okay, Whenever you can attach a ni naru, ni narimasu, becoming, and it still carry the same meaning, then it means that this word carries a change. Okay, because ni narimasu is a change. Okay, nareru, get used to. Another word for get used to is becoming ordinary. So futsu ni naru. Okay, so this is the first characteristic of an intransitive verb. The second characteristic is that intransitive verb denote the current condition. It explains the current condition. Okay, for example, opened, aku. This is akimasu. Actually, the dictionary form is aku. It explains the current conditions. Okay, this can only apply for objects, like an object falling down from the floor, or a door is open, a window is closed, or rain is falling. So this can only explains object, not a person. Okay, so the intransitive verb denote the current condition. For example, the door is open, doa ga akimashita. Okay, if the door is currently open, then we have to change this akimasu into a teimasu form, because it's a permanent form, right? Because right now the door is still open, right? So doa ga, so if we change this to a permanent form, it become doa ga aiteimasu, aiteimashita. Okay, the door is currently opened. The second sentence here, I opened the door. So this is a doa o akemashita. This is a transitive verb, while this one is an intransitive verb. Okay, so I hope you can see the difference, and if you don't recall this, you can go back to our grammar slides for lesson 29, where it is explained in detail the difference between intransitive and transitive. So once again, this is a secret formula to recognize which verb is intransitive by understanding that intransitive verb denote change in itself, and intransitive verb denote the current condition. Well, over here we are sharing with you some of the most common intransitive verbs used for and for. Drop down, ochiru. Get up, okiru. Perish, horobiru. Get off, oriru. Pass by, sugiru. Surplus, amaru. Heal, naru. Remain, nokoru. Pass through, toru. Cross, wataru. Return, kairu. Increase, fueru. Get cold, hieru. Burn, moiru. Hide, kakureru. Break, kawareru. Collapse, taoreru. Flow, nagareru. Surprise, odoroku. Move, ugoku. Dry, kawaku. Get out, deru. Disappear, mieru. Change, kawaru. End, owaru. Communicated, tsutawaru. Hang, kakaru. Close, shimaru. Go up, agaru. Hit, ataru. Okay, all of these are intransitive verbs. If you look at some of them, some of them actually denote change in itself. Okay, while some of them denote condition, current condition. Okay, resolve, tokeru. Loosen, hodokeru. Can be seen, mieru. Can be heard, kikoeru. Blow, fuku. Okay, please take note that mieru and kikoeru, they are not just an intransitive verb, but they are also a potential intransitive verbs. Okay, please look at our grammar lesson 29. You will understand what is a potential intransitive verb. Okay, decrease, heru. Win, katsu. Lose, makeru. Leave, ikiru. Come, kuru. Go, iku. Become, naru. Ring, naru. Stay over, tomaru. Leave, sumu. Born, umareru. Get wet, nureru. Move, utsuru. Deepen, fukameru. Get fat, futoru. get thin, yaseru. Notice that get fat, get fat and get thin, this is a change in itself already, okay? By the word we know that it is the person is becoming thin. So there's a change in itself in this word, okay? Futoru, yaseru, niru, similar, atatameru, warm up, fading, usureru, changing, brighten is akareru, become dirty, yogoreru, panic, awateru, drunk, you, kumoru, cloudy, sunny, hareru. Fits well, ni au, meet au, go through kayo, arrive tsuku, inflate fukuramu, namaru dull, get used to nareru, be aware kitsukeru, reach todoku, break up wakareru. This is for something that breaks, okay? Damaru, shut up, sit suwaru, understand wakaru, get lost mayau, be confused tomadau, becoming friend shita shimasu, dai shino, tobu, fly, entangle karamu, spread hirogaru, yamu, get sick, there is or there are, aru, iru, pray, inoru, cry, naku, laugh, warau. These are conditions, okay? So these are all the intransitive verbs that we bring together for you to remember. So you can always remember this before you take the N4 exams. Well, here are examples taken from the book, page 101. This example explains how a senior person instructs a junior person to do something. Okay, the first sentence, watashi wa musuko o kaimono ni ikasemasu. Okay, notice this first sentence, there's a directions going there. So the particle here is ni, and the particle here attached to the person receiving this instruction is o. Okay, second sentence, watashi wa musume o densha no naka de tatasemasu. I instruct my daughter to stand inside the train. Watashi wa kodomo o eki made arukasemasu. I instruct the child to walk until the station. Watashi wa kodomo o puru de oyogasemasu. I instruct the child to swim in the pool. Watashi wa musuko o juku ni kayowasemasu. I instruct my son to go to cram school. Okay, notice all the 5 sentences, the verbs are intransitive verb. Ikasemasu, tachimasu, arukimasu, oyogimasu, kayoimasu. Okay, these are all intransitive verb. Therefore, the particle attached to the person receiving this instruction is o. O and o here. Okay, kodomo o, musuko o. Okay, while in between this person receiving and the action, there's an additional information here, kaimono ni. Okay, the particles are different, like densha no naka de, eki made, puru de, juku ni. Okay, well, over here we see some examples using causative verb form, and a senior person, Bucho, is giving instruction to his employees. Bucho wa Takahashi-san ni shiryou o copy sasemasu. The department head Mr. Takahashi copy the materials, or the department head instruct Mr. Takahashi to copy the materials. Bucho wa Sato-san ni data o matome sasemasu. The department head had Misato summarize the data. Bucho wa Mira-san ni file o motte kosasemasu. The department head had Miller brought the files. 部長は鈴木さんに会議の準備をさせました。The department head had Mr. Suzuki prepared the meeting. 部長は林さんに書類を届けさせました。The department head had Miss Hayashi delivered the documents. Well, notice that in all these sentences, the verbs are transitive verbs. Okay, keep in mind that sasemashita, copy sasemashita, this is a transitive verb. Okay, so the particle attached to the person receiving the instruction, Takahashi is ni. Takahashi-san ni. And then we have a noun here, Shiryo o. So it's the same pattern for all the sentences where there's a noun in the middle and an o. And the person receiving the instruction, the particle attached to it is a ni. Okay, and all the verbs are transitive. So matome sasemashita, this is also transitive verb. Motte kosasemashita, this is a transitive verb. And junbi o sasemashita, sasemashita, this is a transitive verb. And toroke sasemashita, transitive verb. Over here we have a combination of compulsion and permission. Let's look at the first sentence. It's good for the health, thus I made my child take swimming classes. 体にいいので子供を水泳教室に通わせています。Okay? Notice 通わせています。通います。This is a intransitive verb. Alright? And then, so this is an intransitive verb, so 子供を. Okay, then there's a direction going to a school or classes, so this is ni. It's good for the health, thus I let my child drink milk. 体にいいので子供に牛乳を飲んでいます。Okay, 飲んでいます is a transitive verb. 子供, the particle attached to 子供 is ni. Okay, and this is a noun, so the particle here is o. It's dangerous at night, so I requested my daughter return before 9. 夜は危ないので娘を9時までに帰らせています。帰ります this is an intransitive verb, and so the particle attached to musume is o. And we look at the middle here, this happens to be a time, a particular time, so the particle attached to this is ni. Grades are not good, so I made my son go to cram school. 成績が良くないので息子を塾に行かせています。行かせて行きます。This is a intransitive verb, and so the particle attached to 息子 is o. And there's a direction going to another cram school, so the particle here is ni. I have a dog, thus I made my son feed the dog. 犬を飼っているので息子に犬の世話をさせています。世話をさせています。世話 this is a feeding, okay? And させます here, this is a transitive verb, okay? させます。So the particle attached to 息子 is ni. And then we have 犬の世話. Okay, this is a noun. Right, so this is actually a type 2 if you look at it carefully, okay? Alright, so this is a combination of compulsion and permission using verb type 1 and type 2 sentence structure. Well, continue on. Here are some examples, compulsion and permission. My son said he wants to learn piano, so I let him learn. 息子がピアノを習いたいと言ったので習わせました。My daughter said she wants to make curry, so I let her make. 娘がカレーを作りたいと言ったので作らせました。My child said she wants to go camping, so I let her went. 息子がキャンプに行きたいと言ったので 行かせました. My son said he wants to do part-time job, so I let him do. 息子がアルバイトをしたいと言ったのでさせました. My daughter said she wants to study abroad to French, so I let her study abroad. 娘がフランスへ留学したいと言ったので留学させました. Notice in all these 5 sentences, the causative verb form doesn't make use of the first type or the second type of sentence structure. It simply just convert the verb to a causative shieki form. The reason why we can do this because the sentence that comes before it already explains the reason for the person to give that permission to the child. In this case, the son. Okay, so if we look at the first sentence here, there's already an explanation at the front that my son wants to learn piano. So I simply explain that I let him learn. I gave him the permission to learn, right? And so we can actually just change the verb form to a causative verb form. That's how you see that the first sentence until the end, all the sentences, the verb is simply converted to a shieki k form. Okay. We have come to the last part of the grammar slides. Over here, we are combining the causative verb form shieki k with te itadakimasen ka. The first time we learned about te itadakimasen ka, it was in lesson 26. In lesson 26, we are simply combining the shortened verb of the verb, with te itadakimasen ka. Okay. In lesson 26, we can use this sentence when we are requesting help from another person to do something for us. Okay, so in lesson 26, the person who is doing something is the listener. Okay, while lesson 48, in this lesson, the verb is not just a simple verb, it is a causative verb. So you have to convert the verb into a causative form and then you combine it with te itadakimasen ka. When we do that, we can only use this sentence to seek permission from another person to do something. So we as the speaker is the one who is doing something and we are simply asking the permission of the second person. So when we are doing that, we can use lesson 48 sentence. Okay, let's look at these 2 examples and we will be able to tell the difference, alright, between 26 and 48. Would you please tell me how to use the photocopier? コピー機の使い方を教えていただけませんか? Okay, over here, the verb is 教えます. Okay, the shortened form is 教えていただけませんか? This is lesson 26. Okay, so over here, the speaker is asking the listener, okay, to tell him how to use the copy machine. Okay, so the person that will tell him or teach the speaker how to use the machine is the listener. Okay, example 2. As I'm going to attend my friend's wedding, would you please let me leave earlier? 友達の結婚式があるので招待させていただけませんか? Well, over here the verb is 招待します is leaving, okay, and 招待 is converted to a causative verb form 招待させます and it's combined with ていただけません so it becomes 招待させていただけませんか? Okay, over here notice that the meaning here is would you please let me leave earlier? So the speaker is the one who is doing the action. The action here is 招待します isn't it? Leaving, right? And the speaker is the one who is leaving. And he's simply using this sentence, okay, to ask for the listener's permission to leave. Okay, I hope you can tell the difference now. Even though they are the same 手いただけませんか? But please be careful, the usage is different and it is inferring to a different thing, so be careful about it. Okay, we look at next example. Well, example 5. Over here we are combining the verb causative verb form with 手いただけませんか? I'd like to read this report, so could I make a copy? このレポートを読みたいので、ちょっとコピーさせていただけませんか? I want to unload my luggage, so could I stop my car over here for a little while? 荷物を下ろしたいので、ここにしばらく車を止めさせていただけませんか? I want to pick up my parents at the airport, so could I return home at 4 o'clock next Tuesday? ここへ両親の迎えに行きたいので、来週の火曜日は4時に帰っていただけませんか? I want to organize the materials, so could I use this meeting room? 資料を整理したいので、この会議室を使わせていただけませんか? The garden is so beautiful, so could I take one photo? 庭がとても綺麗なので、写真を一枚撮らせていただけませんか? I'm researching about the life of elderly in Japan, so could I listen to your story? 日本のお年寄りの生活について調べているので、お話を聞かせていただけませんか? I had interest in this before, so could I do this job? 前から興味があったので、この仕事をやらせていただけませんか? Okay, notice in all these sentences, the speaker is asking for the permission of the listener to let him do something. Okay, the first sentence, he is asking permission to copy the report. The second sentence, he is asking permission to stop his car for a little while over there because he wants to unload his luggage. Third sentence, he wants to pick up his parents, so he's asking permission to return home at 4 o'clock next Tuesday. So the fourth sentence, he wants to organize the material, so he's asking permission to use the meeting room. Okay. The fifth sentence, the garden is so beautiful, so could I take one photo? So he's asking permission to take a picture. Okay, number 6, I'm researching about the life of the elderly in Japan, so could I listen to your story? So he's asking the permission of the listener whether he could listen to his story. The sentence number 7, I had interest in this before, so could I do this job? He's asking the listener's permission to do the job. Alright, so notice that all these sentences, it is the speaker who is doing the action, he's simply asking for the permission of the listener. Well, we have come to the English translation for Bunkei and Reibun. Please turn to page 188. I'll give the English translations for the sentences here. First sentence pattern, 息子をイギリスへ留学させます。I'll send my son to study abroad in England. 娘にピアノを習わせます。I let my daughter learn piano. このサッカー教室は練習が厳しそうですね。This soccer class practice looks tough. 毎日子供たちを1キロ走らせています。Yeah, the children were made to run 1 kilometer every day. そろそろ失礼します。I'll be leaving soon. ちょっと待ってください。息子に駅まで送らせますから。Oh, please wait a moment. I asked my son to give you a ride to the station. ハンス君は学校の勉強の他に何か習っていますか？ Hans, other than school study, does he learn anything else? A. 柔道をしたいと言ったので柔道教室に行かせています。Yeah, he said he wanted to do judo, so I let him go to judo class. 伊藤先生はどんな先生ですか？ What kind of teacher is Mr. Ito? いい先生ですよ。生徒に好きな本を読ませて自由に意見を言わせるんです。He's a good teacher. What kind of teacher is Mr. Ito? He's a good teacher. Let the students read their favorite books and give their opinions freely. すみません。しばらくここに車を止めさせていただけませんか？ Excuse me, could I park my car here for a little while? いいですよ。Sure. Well, we have come to the English translation for conversation, Kaiwa, on page 189. Okay, the topic of this conversation is May I take leaves? 休ませていただけませんか？ Okay, this is a conversation between Miller and Nakamura Kacho. Nakamura is more senior than Miller. 課長、今忙しいですか？ Chief, are you busy now? いえ、どうぞ。No, please go ahead. ちょっとお願いがあるんですが。I have a little request. 何ですか？ What is it? 来月7日から10日ほど休みを取らせていただけませんか？ Yes, could I take leaves from 7 to 10 days next month? 10 days? 10日間ですか？実はアメリカの友達が結婚するんです。Actually, my American friend is getting married. そうですか。Really? 来月は20日に営業会議がありますが、それまでに帰れますね。Well, next month on the 20th there is a sales meeting. Return before then. はい。Yes. じゃあ、構いませんよ。楽しんできてください。Alright, it doesn't matter. Please go and enjoy. ありがとうございます。Thank you very much. Okay. In this conversation, the only time that is using the causative verb form plus ていただけませんか is the sentence coming from Miller when he is asking for Nakamura's permission to take leaves. Okay, and this is the sentence. If I repeat again, 来月7日から10日ほど休みを取らせていただけませんか Okay, 取らせていただけませんか That's the causative verb form. Okay, we have come to the vocabulary section. I'll just go on with every word, repeating every word and the meaning after that. Okay. 下ろします is put down. 下ろします lower. 届けます 届けます is delivery, report. 世話をします take care of. 嫌 unwilling, reluctant. 厳しい strict, hard. 塾 cram school. スケジュール schedule. 生徒 pupil. もの person, referring to one's relatives or subordinates. 入管 immigration bureau. 再入国ビザ re-entry visa. 自由に freely, 間 referring to a duration. いいことですね That's good. 忙しいですか Are you busy talking to someone senior or older? You add a O. Hikishiburi after a long time. 営業 business sales. それまでに by that time. 構いません It's alright, it doesn't matter. 楽しみます enjoy oneself. もともと originally. 世紀 century. 代わりをします be a substitute, be a replacement. スピード speed. 競争します race. サカス circus. Gay performance trick. 美しい beautiful. 姿 figure appearance. 心 heart mind. 捉えます catch. にとって for. Well, here are some examples of sentences that explain what we make our children do or what we let our children do using the shieki K. I let my kids play in the nature. 私は子供を自然の中で遊ばせます。遊ばせます is a intransitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is o. I let my kids do sports. 私は子供にスポーツをさせます。させます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I let my child travel alone. 私は子供に一人で旅行をさせます。Once again, させます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I ask my child to have various experiences. 私は子供にいろいろな経験をさせます。させます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I have my kids read lots of good books. 私は子供にいい本をたくさん読ませます。読ませます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I have my kids listen to old people. 私は子供にお年寄りの話を聞かせます。聞かせます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. 私は子供にボランティアに参加をさせます。I have my child participate in volunteer work. Once again, させます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I have my kids do house chores. 私は子供にうちの仕事を手伝わせます。手伝います is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I have my child take care of their brother and sister, grandpa and grandma. 私は子供に弟や妹、おじいさんちゃん、おばあちゃんの世話をさせます。させます once again is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I let my kids do what they want to do. 私は子供に自分がやりたいことをやらせます。Once again, やらせます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I let my kids make decisions by themselves. 私は子供に自分のことは自分で決めさせます。決めさせます is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I make my child have confidence. 私は子供に自信を持たせます。持たせます、持ちます。This is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. I make my child take responsibility. 私は子供に責任を持たせます。持たせます。Once again, transitive verb. I make my kids have patience. 私は子供を我慢させます。Well, 我慢させます。This is a intransitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is o. I make my kids go to cram school. 私は子供を塾へ行かせます。行かせます。行きます is a intransitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is o. I make My kids learn piano and English. 私は子供にピアノや英語を習わせます。習います is a transitive verb, so the particle attached to 子供 is ni. So these are some examples of sentences explaining what you make your child do or to instill the discipline. Hope this can be useful in your day-to-day life. Well, we have come to the end of lesson 48. Thank you for watching and please subscribe to our channel. Well, see you again. Bye.